they breathe in and out of their butthole. Hello, welcome. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you're new here, hi, my name is Anne. If you're not new, welcome back, my friends. Today's video, we are talking about all of the books that I read in July. I will give you my pure, uncensored reviews of the 5 books that I read in July. So the first book that I read this month was, I have to read it from my phone here because it's a very long title. The Modern Bestiary, a curated collection of wondrous wildlife by Joanna Bagniewska. This book gets 5 stars, hands down. It was beautiful. It was a joy to read. Literally was one of the most fun books I've ever read, and I would highly recommend it. I'm sure you will have heard of or have seen the like bestiary books, you know, of old, with unicorns and griffins and like chimeras and all the things. There is a bestiary book called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them in the Harry Potter universe. Like, we in IRL have bestiary books that were written that are like definitely not factual, because again, they have like unicorns and things in them. I mean, maybe that's factual, who am I to judge? But essentially what this book is, it is a compilation of 100 different animals that are real in real life, and they are like the coolest animals in their specific realms. Each animal has like a spread to themselves, and basically she goes into like what is really cool about this animal and why it's so special and all those types of things. This book isn't really a story, it's more of like a nonfiction book, but it's really cool. Her writing is very humorous. It's really interesting. There's a lot of facts in there, and I love animal facts. And it's also a little bit of a reflection on sort of the impact that humans have on some of these animals, because a lot of them are endangered because of some of the actions that we have made. Really, it's got everything going for it. It's definitely 5 stars all around. So let me just read for you a couple of the standout facts. I could spend like literally 3 hours reading you my favorite facts from this book, but I had to really tone it down because obviously that's not, you know, a thing that I could do here. Nobody would be paying attention after 3 hours, and I would not blame you. So here are my most interesting and like, you know, earwormy facts. You know, like an earworm when you like get it stuck in your head and you can't get it out of your head. That's what these facts are for me. So number 1, did you know that sea cucumbers breathe through their butts? Yep, they breathe in and out of their buttholes. So also, this is a side fact, there's a fish called a pearlfish that literally goes inside the sea cucumber's bum and makes its home in there. So didn't know that before, now I know that, and it was an interesting fact for me to have learned. Here's another one. I think this one's really cool. Rats, like common brown whatever, common garden rats, name that film. It was a Harry Potter reference. Rats are empathetic. Did you know that? So there was a study, rats would see other rats drowning, and apparently drowning is very distressful for rats. Like being in water is a very distressing situation for them. I mean, I think drowning is stressful for anybody, but for rats, I guess water is just, you know, not their vibe. So rats would see other rats in water and would see them like flailing and just like not having a great time, and they had to like complete this puzzle to get them out of the water basically. And so the rats that saw other rats struggling would like complete the puzzle quickly so that they could basically rescue the other rats. So also the rats that had been previously like wet and drowning were a lot quicker in their rescue than rats that had not previously experienced that. Not only can rats feel sympathy for seeing similar rats in distressing situations, but they can feel empathy, meaning that they can know exactly what that is like, having been through it themselves, and they therefore would want to rescue their counterparts a lot quicker. So for anybody who says that these little animals are dumb or they don't have feelings or anything like that, that is the furthest from the truth. Last but certainly not least, another fun fact that I learned was that American crows, like a crow that you see outside, they are so smart that they will remember people who have been mean to them, and they will communicate with other crows, hey, this person was mean to me. So they'll basically like rat you out if you're mean to them. So not only are crows like hella scary in general, the way they just like stare at you and caw at you, but also now they're like talking crap about you behind your back. So again, just more proof, if you're a freaking bully throwing rocks and stuff at the crows, they are talking about you behind your back. That is just a small snippet of the interesting facts I read in this book. So would I recommend this book? I think we can all agree that I would. The next book I read is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. This book was also 5 stars, but for a very different reason than the previous book. This book is essentially about a woman who has some abuse from her mom, and she is dealing with the repercussions of that sort of childhood trauma as an adult. So some of the ways in which this manifests is that she basically has no friends. She has nobody who knows about her, cares about her. She just exists in this planet with no social connection whatsoever. And because of that, she doesn't really know how to interact in polite society. She doesn't know like how to be normal at work. Essentially her weekends are filled with her like getting drunk on vodka, passing out, and then waking up the next week and going to work and repeating it all again. Her rigidity in life is sort of thrown for a curveball when she meets a coworker whose name is Raymond, who is very nice to her and who just really doesn't care so much about the social norms that other coworkers seem to care about. But he's really just polite. Also, the two of them encounter a stranger and they basically have to call like the emergency services, and this sort of pivoting moment where she is essentially saving somebody else's life really helps her understand what it means to live her life. The first thing that I want to say is this, that I would say like probably a trigger warning for anybody who's had any sort of childhood trauma, childhood PTSD, childhood neglect, narcissism, borderline personality disorder, anything like that in your childhood where reading about things like that is triggering for you. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend this book unless you are looking for a similar storyline. I think this book was a great book. It was beautifully written. The journey that Eleanor kind of goes on, that we as the reader follow, it's like hilarious, it's heartbreaking. There were times where I was like laughing out loud. There were times where I was like literally crying and my heart was just aching. And so I think particularly if you have experience with any of those things that I listed before, I would just go into this knowing that this is not going to be like a lighthearted, breezy read. So it's probably going to make you, you know, rock back and forth in bed crying. So that being said, I really thought this book was really well done. I think it really spoke to what it means to have a community, what it means to have people who love you. And I think it also was a really interesting commentary on what we think we have to be before we are worthy of love. I think this is a book that I would recommend everybody read, simply because I think that we can all sympathize with Eleanor, and I think that we can all, as humans, understand that there are people who are going through, unfortunately, things similar to what Eleanor went through. And I think that, you know, as humans, we can just find compassion for people like that. And I think reading this book, like, I hope that everybody would come away with a little bit more of Raymond inside of them. And I think that that would just make the world a better place. So that got deep fast, but this book is so good. I would really recommend reading it. Just get your tissues ready because, wow. The next book that I read was The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. So this book is 5 stars. It's also the 3rd book in the Thursday Murder Club series. So this is part of a series. I would recommend reading the first 2 before you read this one. This is, I think, I'm not saying this lightly, this series is, I think, my favorite series of the year. That's right. I said it. This book is so good. It is so funny. It is like very detailed, and you really feel like you are living in the same universe as the characters and you are like sitting right next to Joyce and she's typing on her computer, you really fall in love with the characters. And maybe I should tell you what it's about. So essentially we have this like retirement home, and these people, they're like in their 70s and 80s, they come and they live there. They form this like murder mystery club where they basically solve real life crime. So this particular book, The Bullet That Missed, we have a news reporter who was killed and her murder is unsolved. And so the Thursday Murder Club decide to try and figure out what happened to her. And along the way, we meet her like co-host. He comes in and Joyce has this little like crush on him. We also have like another character from Elizabeth's past that comes in, and he almost is very similar to the Thursday Murder Club gang. He's like I want to say like an ex-KGB agent, but he is also up there in age, so he just, you know, gets along really well with the team. Joyce has a dog. His name is Alan. He's probably the star of the show. If you like murder mysteries, if you like witty humor, if you like smart books, this one is for you. Hands down, would highly recommend it. Next up, we have The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. This book gets 4 stars. So we have a gal named Millie. She just got out of jail. She's got a troubled past and she's looking for a job, any job. Essentially where she can like make a living and move out of her car. So she ends up getting this job as a housemaid, obviously, for this sort of like well-to-do couple and their daughter. We sort of follow her along her journey as she kind of gets more familiar with her employer, Nina, and Nina's husband, Andrew, and their daughter. She kind of uncovers some family secrets and different kinds of things like that. Essentially, Nina's behavior starts becoming a little bit erratic, and Andrew is there to sort of placate Nina and apologize to Millie. And so Millie sort of develops this relationship with Andrew because he's very kind to her and supportive of her, and Nina sort of goes off the deep end. This book is a psychological thriller, so it was a quick read. I read through it like in one weekend while I was visiting my friend, and it was fast-paced. It kept you going. I think the storyline was entertaining and engaging. I think in terms of cons, I could see where the ending was coming. I think it was pretty predictable, but that being said, I enjoyed it nonetheless, and I thought it was a good read. And I am interested to read the next in the series. There is another book called The Housemaid. It's the second one, and I'm excited to read that and continue along with Millie's story. Final book that I read this month was The Secret of the Old Clock, a Nancy Drew mystery by Carolyn Keene. I'm not actually sure if it's Carolyn or Caroline, but I think it's Carolyn. So this book I'm gonna rate 3 stars. This is actually the first book in the Nancy Drew series. I read the second book last month. You can go back and watch that review if you're interested. And now I'm reading the first book, so I read them out of order a little bit, but that's fine. As I said last month, this is a book, it's a young adult book. It's not gonna be, you know, the most poignant or breathtaking or thrilling novel, but that's okay because I am just here for some entertainment. I am just here to see what Nancy gets up to. I am also here to appreciate how easy Nancy's life is, that she doesn't have to work or pay bills or anything like that. So maybe also that. I love the Nancy Drew books. I read them before when I was a child. Reading them again because why not? They're easy reads. I listened to the audiobook. Laura Linney narrates. Superb. And they're like a 3-hour listen each book. It's great. It's wonderful. 3 stars. I have no complaints. Actually, in my last monthly book review, I had a viewer comment saying that they also like the Nancy Drew series. They were like, I don't care if it's for kids. I love it. I am with you, my friend. This book, the story here is that Nancy meets some people. They're a little bit sore because they had been promised some sort of payout in like a friend's will. The friend died and they never really got any payout, and so Nancy has to get to the bottom of this. Where's the second will? Is there a second will? Is it in fact the first will? What's going on? I don't really want to say anything else because it will probably ruin the book, but it's fun. This is probably also a good series if you have children. This is probably also a good series to like read to your children at night because it's, or have them read even, because it is like a starter book. It's like a Magic Tree House, kind of like, easy to read, not too intense. Also, Nancy is just kind of like a badass. She just goes out there and goes for it and gets it. And like, I'm like, let's all be a little bit like Nancy, a little bit more like Nancy, and just go out there unapologetically. That's all the books that I read for July. So that's only 5. I usually read a lot more, but July has been super busy. I went out to visit my friend. We have some big exciting like life news coming up that we've been working on. And I'm going through like a transition at work. It's a good transition. All good things, all good things. That's an Olaf quote, if you were curious. And so anyways, I haven't really had a lot of time to devote to reading, but I have probably like 8 books that I checked out from the library the other day that your girl has to get on. So I am hoping that August will be a thick month in terms of books read. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have read any of these books, please let me know down below in the comments. If you have books that you think I would like, please also let me know down in the comments. And if you disagree with any of my ratings, let me know down in the comments. I would love to chat there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your month. There's literally like maybe a few hours left in July at this point. So have a great few hours. And here's to a fabulous August, my friends. So I will see you in the next one. Bye.